same, we share the love. Embracing the difference, it's like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine, in each other's light. Now we stand, in love's pure mind. Watching the world, in love and light. Hearts beating as one, in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, leading the night. Now we stand, in love's pure mind.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is our typical time to have our news at noon, but the President of the United States is about to make a very important announcement. So we're going to tune in to see what he has to say right now. Everybody is geared up. Fox News, CNN, even the White House. They're just waiting for him to, I guess, come into the White House with his press conference. So stay tuned. If you like to chat or what have you, if you want to come up and have a chat live on the screen, feel free to do so. But we're going to hang out here for a little bit and see what is this big announcement that the President of the United States has to say. So stay tuned. We had a lot of people here this morning covering the update when it comes to the shutdown, what's really going to happen. There's so many changes. Here in New York, you guys probably see that in many cases, I do tours in, let's say, Lower Manhattan, even Times Square, where they're doing a lot of demonstrations there. A lot of Muslims are doing prayers, huge prayers. There's so much happening in New York. A lot of people don't know what to think or how to express themselves. So we're going to be covering all of this. But right now, we're going to wait and see how soon before the President of the United States make his announcement. So stay tuned while we wait. Feel free to make your comments. We're just going to hang out until he comes on. You know, actually, I'm going to set this up so I can see when he goes live. And until then, I'll just cover some news articles. How about that? So there we have it. So we'll stay tuned. So anyway, at any rate, while we're waiting for the president to make this big announcement, whatever it is, I'm going to cover a few news stories. Feel free to express yourself, make your comments or what have you. We have quite a few people here. So just hang out. Tell us what you think. Feel free to express yourself. One of the first stories I wanted to cover today, we're going to get into the president's response. And again, we're waiting for the president to come on and give his announcements. I'll look out for that to start. In the interim, we're going to cover some news articles. We're going to see what Donald Trump had to say in regards to Mamdani. What's his response to the whole thing? Let's check it out.
A special report in Miami after President Trump delivered an economic speech here to the America Business Forum. Mr. President, thanks for being here. I want to talk to you about New York City real quick. You're a New Yorker. You famously kind of had a fight with Ed Con.
And by the way, guys, hit the like button, share, and subscribe. As you come in, I'm going to keep giving you the news until I see the President of the United States come forth with his big press conference.
Back in the 70s and 80s as he was a mayor. He obviously wasn't a democratic socialist, as you call the mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani a communist. But is there any part of you that looks at Mamdani and says, it is good for you politically to have a big foil there that you're going to talk about for the next 3 years?
You know, I'm so torn because I would like to see the new mayor do well because I love New York. I really love New York. When I left New York for Washington, New York was doing really well, but there were some bad signs. The bad sign was a guy named de Blasio. So the signs of de Blasio, that was the beginning, and it was bad. This one, we're going to, look, for 1,000 years, communism has not worked. Communism or the concept of communism has not worked. I tend to doubt it's going to work this time.
Did you see his victory speech?
It's literally never worked. Yeah, I thought it was a very angry speech. Certainly angry toward me, and I think he should be very nice to me. You know, I'm the one that sort of has to approve a lot of things coming to him. So he's off to a bad start.
At one point, he says, "Turn the volume up."
So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
How do you respond to that? Does that affect anything you're going to do? As
A
in,
very dangerous statement for him to make, actually. And, you know, you talk about danger. I think it's a very dangerous statement for him to make. He has to be a little bit respectful of Washington, because if he's not, he doesn't have a chance of succeeding. And I want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed. I don't want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed, and we'll see what happens.
did you see reaching out to him?
I would say he should reach out to us, really. I think he should reach out. I'm here. We'll see what happens, but I would think that it would be more appropriate for him to reach out to us.
So speaking of reaching out, is there a deal that can be made to end this government shutdown in your mind?
Well, I think the Democrats have become radicalized. I think, you know, this never happened before. They always extend. You know, an extension is very easy. It's done all the time. You extend, sometimes you extend 4 or 5 times. I mean, they become radicalized lunatics, actually, in a true sense. They should automatically extend, and we will make a deal as soon as they do. As soon as they do, we'll make a deal.
There is a deal in the works that they're talking about, at least. Senator Susan Collins talked to the House, said if they pass the continuing resolution now, this Friday, they'll pass the military construction, the veterans bills, maybe even other bills, and that would get veterans their checks by Veterans Day Monday. Would you support that?
Well, I would look at it. I mean, I'm going to look at it. They should just extend it and work on it, and we ought to work on health care together, because Obamacare has been a disaster.
What do you guys think? Do you think all of this make the president look weak, or do you just blame the Democrats? Tell us what you think.
It's going to get a big increase, but Obamacare is not great health care, and it's very expensive, and I'd love to work with them to fix it.
Okay, it looks like the president of the United States is having his announcement now, so let's try to pull it up for you guys.
At drastic discounts and very effective drugs. And so far, I've never heard anything bad about them. I only hear good about them. It's pretty. Is there anything bad about them, Bobby? I haven't heard anything bad.
Guys, this is live right now. The president of the United States has come forth with his press conference with a big announcement.
So far, I haven't heard that, including the drugs known as Zepbound and Wegovy, often called Ozempic. This is a triumph for American patients that will save lives and improve the health of millions and millions of Americans. Amazing thing. They are amazing. I want to thank Eli Lilly CEO David Ricks, a friend of mine. We've worked long and hard. He and I got this whole thing started in a way. And Novo Nordisk CEO Mike Dustar for joining us today. Great, talented people. They make a lot of money. I looked at the money, but they're entitled to the money because the companies are doing very well. Along with Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Secretary Howard Lutnick. Do you take any of this stuff, Howard?
Not yet.
Okay, good. CMS Administrator Mehmet Oz, he doesn't take it. Food and Drug Administrator, Commissioner Marty McCary, and Director of Medicare Chris Plump. And we have Steve, where's Steve? Is he here? Head of Public Relations for the White House. He's taking it. The United States is just 4% of the world's population and consumes only 13% of all prescription drugs, yet pharmaceutical companies make 75% of their profits from the American customer. I would say that's not so good, right? It's not exactly great. To address this chronic unfairness, I signed an executive order earlier this year instructing my administration to do everything in our power to implement most favored nations drug pricing, something that has been helped greatly by tariffs, because when nations refuse to do it, we should have put this in the case yesterday. I just say, well, if you're not going to do it, we're going to charge you a like amount of tariffs. And they immediately say, we'll do it, which means that Americans should pay no more than the lowest price offered anywhere in the world. So that you've heard for years the disparity where you'll pay $150 for a pill in New York, and you'll pay $10 for a pill in London. Now you're gonna pay $20 both, because the world is a little bit bigger than the US, so it goes up that way, but you'll pay $20 and $20. A tremendous advantage to our country after years of being abused by the world system. Already Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and EMD, Serono, have agreed to drastically lower their prices for American patients, and today Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are joining the phenomenal list of the most exciting announcements. I mean, nobody's ever had announcements like, and this has to do with other pharmaceutical products also. But we're covering this today because it's such a big seller. I guess it's the #1 selling thing there is today. These are two companies that behind the groundbreaking weight loss drugs that have helped millions of Americans struggling with obesity live better, longer lives, everything else. These are the two companies that really broke ground. Until now, neither of these two popular drugs have been covered by Medicare for weight loss, and they've only rarely been covered by Medicaid. They've often cost consumers more than $1,000 per month, and some a lot more than that. Americans have been spending as much as 520% more for Zepbound and 1,400% more for Wegovy than patients in Europe. Think of that.
Guys, let's get the likes up. Please hit the like button.
Exact same box. And that ends starting today. The other countries are not happy with us. I don't think they like me too much, Bobby, but that's okay. Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk are committing to offer Zepbound and Wegovy at most favored nations rates for American patients. This will slash the cost of Wegovy from $1,350 a month to ultimately $250 a month. $1,350 to $250. Did I do a good job? They don't write about it, you know, they like to not write these things. And reduce, you think Biden could have done this? I don't think so. And reduce the monthly cost of Zepbound from $1,080 to $346. In addition, they're both committing that future GLP-1 weight loss drugs taken orally, which are currently under development, will be sold at no more than $149 per month. It's a massive, think of that. You go from $1,300 to $149 a month. We anticipate these new versions will be coming out in a very short period of time. All of these drugs will be available directly to the consumer at TrumpRx.gov. Trump, they want to use my name. Trump, it better be good. TrumpRx.gov, and I think it's turning out to be pretty amazing, right, us? Just as significantly, Medicare and Medicaid will finally cover the cost of these weight loss drugs for millions of patients suffering from obesity. Co-pays for Medicare patients will be as low as $50. This is tremendous savings. I mean, now you're talking about from $1,350 to $50. This is tremendous news for the American seniors. And you all remember when I had 1/8 of 1% for the year. I cut it 1/8 of, and I was so thrilled. But now we're cutting it 1,000%, 1,200%. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. Nobody else could have done it, but I say that modestly. In addition, you think it was easy dealing with these people? It wasn't. You think it was easy saying, your drug, Mr. Eli Lilly, that we're selling for $1,300 is going to be sold for $250. You know the amazing thing, the stocks all went up. I mean, these guys they're fantastic. Because it's going to equalize the world. The world's a bigger place, and it's going to equalize. I was a little surprised to see that, but I'm happy about it. In addition, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk have agreed to provide all of their other medications to Medicaid at most favored nations prices. Most favored nations, meaning that you will pay the lowest price anywhere in the world. That's what you're going to pay. Whereas before they paid low prices and we paid, you know, thousands of percentile ahead more. And to sell these drugs to all consumers at deeply discounted prices via TrumpRx.com. When is TrumpRx.com opening?
The site is open. It will launch in terms of giving people prices before the end of the year.
Okay, got to make sure it's successful. It's got my name on it. I don't want to be like so many others. I don't want to be like the train they're building in California, okay, which has about 15,000% cost overrun. Or the beautiful Obama building that he's building in Chicago for the museum, which is now shuttered up and dead. They got it up and they couldn't finish. It's about, would you say, 5 years behind schedule? And about 2,000% over budget. Then he tells us how to run Medicaid. Many of the most widely used drugs will be available for 60% off, or even more than that. In addition, all new medications introduced by Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk to the American market will be sold at the heavily reduced most favored nations price. Most favored nations price, that's the best, because they have been thousands of percent lower than what we were selling in many cases. Furthermore, Eli Lilly is investing $27 billion. That's all? And Novo Nordisk will invest $10 billion. That's all? That's peanuts. In the United States to reshore and do a big domestic manufacturing job in the facilities they're going to spend. So Eli Lilly spent $27 billion. Novo is spending $10 billion in the United States. So they're building new plant and equipment. That's part of what will be $20 or $21 trillion this year. There's never been anything like it. I know nobody talks about it, but there's never been anything like, I would say, you would say, that there's never been anything like this ever, whether it's China or Europe, or you could take all of Europe, there's never been anything like this. So we're already past 17 trillion. We're going to be, I think by the time the year closes out, we'll have investments of over $21 trillion based on the way we're going. And by the way, tariffs are very important. Without tariffs, perhaps it could be a little bit different, to put it mildly. Tariffs are so important. The decision in the Supreme Court would be devastating to our country if we got a negative, devastating if we got a negative decision. But this is a great day for American health and healthcare, and for all of American patients. These are things that are miracles to have this happen. And they're, you know, we're bringing all our medicines, again, because of tariffs, we're bringing all our medicines. If you remember where during COVID, we made almost no medicine here. We had to go to China, we had to go to Ireland, we had to go to other places, UK, to get our medicine. We didn't make it here. Now we're making it, we'll soon be making it all here, again, because of tariffs. And my election, but because of tariffs much more. For years, politicians have talked about making healthcare affordable, but my administration is actually doing it. Americans deserve the best healthcare in the world, and we're now getting the best healthcare at the lowest price. So I'd like to ask somebody who's doing a fantastic job, Secretary Kennedy, to say a few words, followed by Dr. Oz, Dr. Klump, and then Eli Lilly, CEO David Ricks, and Novo Nordisk CEO Mike Dustar. These are incredible stars in that business. Like Dustar is a big star. And I can tell you that David Ricks is one of the hottest people in the world in business, but the business that he's in is pharmaceutical. And the job he's done with Eli Lilly is incredible. Both of these gentlemen, they really are stars in the truest sense. And it's an honor to have you in the White House, and go to it, Bobby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to start by thanking you, Mr. President, for declaring war on chronic disease in this country. This is something no American president has ever done. If we want to solve the chronic disease crisis, we have to tackle obesity. Obesity is the _1 driver of chronic disease. 50% of our adult population are obese or overweight. And it drives about 50% of healthcare costs in this country. Diabetes, cardiac diseases, we are going to see a decline because of this historic agreement. We're going to see a decline in costs, but also, more importantly, in the afflictions themselves. There are This is President Trump is the friend of the forgotten American. Obesity is a disease of poverty, overwhelmingly. And these drugs have only been available for people who have wealth. At one point, the majority of prescriptions, the highest concentration of prescriptions in this country was the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And what about the people who live in rural areas, who live in food deserts? What about the people in urban areas who live in food deserts and are suffering from obesity and are locked into that system where they can only get ultra-processed foods, which are aggravating the problem? This will be a lifesaver to them. It's not a panacea. It's not a silver bullet. President Trump has also instructed us to address and end the root causes of chronic disease, and we're doing that. We're about to release dietary guidelines that are going to change the food culture in this country. They're going to change the kind of food the military gets. They're going to change the kind of food that our children get. We're releasing those in December. The Presidential Council for Physical Fitness is going to get more Americans into, particularly our children, into physical activity so that we can attack the root causes of this. But in the meantime, there's nothing more important than we can do than lower this price. As I said, it is the #1 cost of all drugs. This is the biggest drug in our country. That's why this is the most important of all the MFN announcements we've made. This is going to have the biggest impact on the American people. All Americans, even those who are not on Medicaid and Medicare, are going to be able to get the same price for their drugs, for their GLP drugs. This happened because of the vision of David Ricks, of Mike Dustar, and the other people, and the people on our team who figured out a way to align the interests of the shareholders of their company with the health of the American public. And it is a momentous accomplishment. It took months and months of negotiations. And I had a wonderful conversation with Mike Dustar about his experience. And he thanked me for the caliber of people who are on our side of the negotiating team. Chris Klump, who walked away from $1 billion business in order to join this administration. Emma Hernandez, David Brooks, and of course, Dr. Oz and Marty McCary, who made this happen. They saw that this could be a win-win situation, that this was not a zero-sum game. The Biden administration tried to solve this problem unsuccessfully, I might add, by throwing $40 billion at it. They were able to achieve an agreement that will actually create savings for the American public. So we're making all of this available at a savings, and that's because the price of diabetes prescriptions is also going to drop. And the savings that we get from that are now going to make it available to people who do not have diabetes, people who have a BMI of 27 and above, or are pre-diabetic or have heart disease risk. They will be able to get it, but everybody will be able to get this drug, and it's going to change. We will lose, the American public, because of this agreement, will lose 125 million pounds by this time next year. So it is going to have dramatic effects on human health in this country. And I want to thank President Trump for his leadership. He said that I'd gotten a lot done as HHS secretary, but almost none of that is due to my ability. It's because I'm surrounded by people who are smarter than me, who are more able than me, and those people came into the administration because they were inspired by President Trump. People like Chris Klump are here because they see this.
Do you think they are smarter than you and more
Yeah.
able? No.
Believe me, they're a lot smarter than I am.
Why don't you take that job? He doesn't really mean that he's being modest, I promise you, but
It is true, unfortunately.
it's a beautiful thing.
But I want to thank you, Mr. President, because you've made me a success here by allowing me to attract these extraordinary people. And I want to again thank David Ricks, who we've been in this Oval Office again and again. You keep saying he's the smartest guy in industry, that he could talk a dog off a meat truck. But it came to the table, and Mike Newstart told me, he
Well,
said,
you convinced people for 20 years that it was okay for Europe to pay $10 and for America to pay $140. That's why they make 45, 50 million a year. We did. Finally, I said, I've had it, right? You did. He did. But anybody could do that, and they're entitled. But now it's down to what it should be.
and Mike Newstart told me what a pleasure it was to negotiate with people who were smart, who had common sense, who were able to put themselves in his position and hammer out this deal that is good for everybody. And it's great for the American public. I want to close again by just saying that this is a tool in the toolkit. It is not a silver bullet. It is an arrow in our quiver. It will allow a lot of people who are locked into high-risk obesity to finally lose weight, to reset, and then start doing the kind of things that will address the root causes of obesity. So I want to thank these extraordinary CEOs for sticking with us on this, for allowing us to make this happen. Mike Newstart said to me, he said, we've known we've had to do this for many years. We just haven't been able to get over the edge, and that this President Trump's order, his executive order, was a catalyst to do something that we always knew needed to be done. So again, thank you for your vision, for your commitment, and thank you to all the CEOs and all of my team for making this historic agreement happen.
Bobby, you haven't changed your view on Tylenol for women that are pregnant?
No, as I said,
Because there were some false reports out about Tylenol that Bobby changed his view. I don't think he's changed.
I'm not going to change until the science changes, and the science does not look like it's changing. It's getting stronger and stronger. Every day, what we recommend is that mothers, pregnant mothers, talk to their physicians, that the mothers of small kids talk to their physicians, and we've advised the physicians to reduce the thresholds and to reduce the amount of Tylenol that they give to children as much as possible, and only use it when it's absolutely critical.
Hey guys, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe.
So, we're going to go through some of the deal points, but it does make itself clear that the real stake here is the forgotten man. President Trump, I believe you won the election because you remember the forgotten man. You speak to them, they hear you, they listen to you, and he connects well because he actually does things that materially change their lives. Secretary Kennedy spoke passionately, as he always does, about the problems with obesity. And just to put some very fine point numbers on this, obesity itself is responsible for half of all chronic disease and definitely generates more than a quarter of all the money we spend out of CMS, the $1.75 trillion that we spend annually. We need to address this tempest of dramatically increasing prices for healthcare, and you're not going to do it just by throwing money at the problem. You have to actually literally deal with the causes of the increase in price, and pharmaceutical prices are a part of that. They've been a part of it for a long time, but this president insisted that we address it. In fact, the first time I heard this directly from you, sir, was in January at Mar-a-Lago, where he took Secretary Kennedy, myself, Mr. Ricks, who you'll hear from in a second, to dinner, and demanded explanations for most favored nation pricing and what's wrong with it. And there was not a good reason against it. Now, MAHA is critical. America will have to get fit in order to right-size the healthcare system, and MAHA has the answers. It has obesity management through diet and exercise and sleep and dealing with issues related to that. And I want to say it as clear as I can. Obesity is not an absence of GLP-1 drugs. We're all clear on that. But as Secretary Kennedy said, it is an arrow in our quiver that we must use and should use. The MAHA movement means making it easier for the right things to happen, easier for you to be healthy. If you're sitting at home and watching, that's what MAHA means to me. Reducing costs of the #1 most expensive medicine category in our country for Americans does just that. It is as MAHA as it gets. Today's the fourth MFN. President Trump highlighted the first three. leading U.S. company, leading European company. We've dropped in fertility drugs, so we'll make lots of Trump babies, I'm hoping by the midterms. But it's really about fairness. Fundamentally, it's fairness in pricing to Americans who have been getting ripped off, paying 3 times more than their European counterparts for the exact same product made in the same factory, in the same bottle, in the same packaging. We shouldn't be paying 3 times more, and we are no longer doing that. Fairness to the forgotten man also means dealing with the reality that they can afford a life-saving, life-changing drug that 10% or more of affluent Americans take, but folks without means can't manage it. Secretary Kennedy mentioned New York City. Actually, the #1 zip code is the Upper East Side, which is where you have property. And folks who know ritzy areas buy important real estate there because those real estate properties are worth a lot there. That should not be the #1 zip code in America for purchasing GLP-1 drugs. It speaks to the fact that we have an inherently, innately unfair system that penalizes folks who can use these medications the most. Folks in the Rust Belt. Now, what are you supposed to do if the right thing to do for your health is right there, but you can't afford to get it? Folks need to be able to utilize these life-saving medications, and being fair about its distribution is essential. And we are democratizing access to these medications and dealing with a moral imperative to make sure that all Americans have access to avoiding all the obesity-related complications by making sure they can afford, if they do things right, not just MAHA-appropriate interventions, but also medications like this. In fact, we think these deals, and this part's very important, we believe these deals within 2 years, by the time the ink dries on these contracts that were signed earlier today, within 2 years, based on our health improvements, we will be budget neutral. These drugs will not cost us money. The American taxpayers will be getting their money back. That's how important it is for us to reduce the cost of healthcare in this country, especially when it's due to preventable problems like obesity. In addition, we have an update, Secretary Kennedy. We thought it was 125 million pounds. Mr. President, our estimate, based on the company numbers as well, is Americans will lose 135 billion pounds by the midterms. But I don't measure it in pounds. I measure it in saved lives. People can sleep again because they can breathe as when they go to bed. Folks whose knees don't hurt. People who don't have heart attacks, renal failure, dementia, all the things we know are associated with obesity and much more. This wouldn't have happened if we didn't have the right tools and had the ability with a team that has been spoken of early. So I want to call out Abe Sutton. He's in the back right there. He leads the CMS Innovation Center. It made the deal possible. And they are announcing today a new model, a brand new model aimed at getting to the vulnerable populations amongst us these medications. The forgotten man will be able to afford these drugs now. Governors will be thanking President Trump. They should be calling directly, sir, because they're going to be able to afford Medicaid next year in ways unimaginable, and they will stop crowding out education and other civil services. We cannot be a wealthy nation without being a healthy nation. That's why today's MFN deal is a historic step forward for all America, and this is something that I don't think is partisan. There is no way you can argue against what just happened. These numbers to my side here, that's Administrator McCary, who's been instrumental in this process as well. $1,350 baseline. Chris Klump will go through the numbers, but just focus on that 245, which is what he's going to point you to. And Chris Klump has been an unbelievable leader, an innovator. You've heard his name before. He's spoken here before, but he is continuing to change the face of CMS, and I love the fact that with his leadership, we're bringing a lot of wonderful people in. Inma Hernandez has been mentioned, John Brooks as well, and many others, including Beth Kelly, who runs the legal issues around these issues, because these guys are barracudas, Mr. President. They will take you down, slice you in little bits. And Howard's been there. It's no longer happening. You've got sharp folks. We're open for business. It's a generational opportunity to serve, and people are showing up. God bless you. Let me introduce now Chris Klump, who is just makes my life easier every day. I'm so proud of him.
All great deals are rooted in principles. We've talked about this before, and today we're announcing another truly great deal. I love this deal, and it's rooted in the principle of potential. This is about unlocking the full potential of every American, the grandmother, the grandfather, the father, the son, by unlocking access to affordable life-saving medications that make a meaningful difference in their lives when they need them most. That's what today delivers. It's a deal built on principle, for people, for the American people, and backed by policy that works. So the most important step to getting healthy is believing that your life has value, that God meant for each of us to have purpose and joy and to live fully. And to do that, we must be good stewards of our body. And the president has been fighting to provide another tool to do just this and enable this, and it's my pleasure to get to outline the contours of the deal today. So, first and foremost, customary with the 3 prior announcements, all of the customary most favored nation terms that you've grown familiar with apply to these 2 deals. So this is actually deals 4 and 5. Full Medicaid portfolios today at most favored nation prices. Shared savings from existing drug prices in Europe deployed back to the United States. All primary care drugs at U.S. net prices or most favored nation prices available on Trump RX before the end of the year. And most importantly, all future drug launches across commercial, Medicaid, Medicare, and the cash markets at most favored nation prices going forward. Now, GLP-1s. So first, under this agreement, starting doses of oral GLP-1s will cost just $149 a month for everyone. That's roughly 1/8 the cost of the list price today. For Medicare, manufacturers are voluntarily reducing their prices for GLP-1s currently used for diabetes and other covered indications to $245 per month across all doses. The savings generated from this change in prices will be used to provide new coverage to obesity and those who struggle with obesity and also have high metabolic or cardiovascular risk. Again, all for the same $245 a month. That means Americans struggling with diabetes and obesity, with heart disease, or other chronic conditions can access these life-changing drugs more affordably. Medicare patients, importantly, will only pay $50 a month for a copay. This is a massive reduction from what happens today. For Medicaid, Novo and Lilly have agreed to extend the same new low government pricing to all 50 state Medicaid programs should they opt in. And we encourage them to opt in, and these will be available not just for diabetes and current covered indications, but also for obesity again. And in case you're getting tired of me saying it, at the same price of $245 a month, all covered doses. On Trump RX, the average price of injectables and orals will start at $350 on average. That's compared to roughly $500 today. And that will trend down to, you guessed it, the same $245 a month over the next 24 months. That is 1/5 of the list price. It is 1/2 of the best price in the United States today. We're hoping, Mr. President, that your friend who has to travel to England to afford these drugs will no longer need to do so and can come and do it in the United States. I'll also just mention that the $149 is $1 less than what you asked us to achieve. Just gonna make sure that's clear. So I want to highlight 2 other really important points that make me love this deal so very much. First, this isn't about spending more, it's about spending smarter. The savings from the diabetes drug price reductions are being used in a cost-neutral way to fund the new indications for taxpayers. That's amazing, and that happens inside of that same 24-month period. It's cost neutral. We're spending the money more wisely. But second, this isn't just about lower drug prices for Americans, though it does do that, but together with physical activity, with healthy eating and diet, and where appropriate, the use of breakthrough GLP-1s, the real return on investment is healthier Americans, lower chronic disease, lower costs, we estimate by tens of billions of dollars a year, and most importantly, higher productivity. Today is about freeing Americans from the weight, literally and figuratively, that holds us back. It's about unlocking the potential of every citizen to live fully, to contribute fully, and to find joy in their health. We cannot reach our full potential as a nation if we do not reach our full potential as individuals. And we cannot reach our full potential as individuals if we are not healthy. Thanks to Novo and Lilly for showing up so constructively over the last several months to make this possible. In particular, thanks to you, Mr. President, for again demonstrating that you fight for every American, this time for potential. It's now my sincere pleasure to first introduce Dave Riggs from Lilly and then Mike Dusto from Novo.
Guys, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you.
It's truly an honor to be here today for this historic step forward to expand access to a class of medications that can fundamentally change the arc of chronic disease in our country. Of course, these are the incretin or GLP-1 agonists that we've been speaking about. For nearly 150 years, my company, Eli Lilly, has been investing in America. We've been advancing science and creating high-value jobs. But today, you okay? Gordon, you okay? Yeah.
Wow, speaking of health, oh my God. Man. Oh my God. Speaking of health. You know, it looked like he was getting sick. I saw him leaning to the side and licking his lips a lot. It looked like he was getting sick, but I thought, maybe that was his way. This is crazy, man. This is all about health, and he passed. Well, we don't know what's happening with him, but this is rather sad. Okay, so let's get to a few of the comments. Let's see if it comes back on. I don't think it's coming back. Maybe it will. JDB says, dear leader, praise is necessary for the orange buffoon. Okay, Ross says, rep are going down. Yes, indeed. Deborah, this is live coverage in its realest sense, right? We saw it happen live, and these guys made sure they took their pictures. That's just the modern world we live in. Kim says, this drug has so many side effects. Why start with this? I would never take it. Okay, thank you, Kim. Great expression. John Stevenson, welcome back. Nice to have you here, John. You always give great comments. Says, man down, man in distress. Yes, indeed. He looked like he was having some problems out. Every time they showed him, he was turning colors. And it's sad to see that, but it happens in life. Queen Station says, what's going on? We were watching Donald Trump. They were giving a great press conference talking about health and all the savings the American people will have. And lo and behold, one of the guys fell, and we're trying to figure out what happened. Not sure what happened to him, but I'm sure the press will be all over it. We're going to wait a few minutes to see if it comes back. In fact, I'm going to go back to covering the story, and if it bounces back, before I do that, I just want to make sure I have this set. So if it comes back up, I'll be alerted. Give me 1 second. And then we'll go back to some of the news stories that we've been covering. This is rather dramatic for the guy to pass out during this big event. Okay. Nobody said that the event has concluded. So that's it for that, folks. I guess they're definitely not coming back. So there you have it. Unfortunately, during the health event, he took a fall. So we'll look and see if we can find out more about that. But let's get back to the story we were covering at first. I'm going to go back to the beginning. As you know, Mamdani won here in New York City, and Donald Trump actually gave a response to that. So we're going to check it out. I'll keep watching to see if the press conference comes back up, because it looked like quite a few people
After President Trump
had something to say. Let's check it out.
Trump delivered an economic speech here to the America Business Forum. Mr. President, thanks for being here. I want to talk to you about New York City real quick. You're a New Yorker. You famously kind of had a fight with Ed Koch back in the 70s and 80s as he was a mayor. He obviously wasn't a democratic socialist, as you call the mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani a communist. But is there any part of you that looks at Mamdani and says, it is good for you politically to have a big foil there that you're going to talk about for the next 3 years?
I'm so torn, because I would like to see the new mayor do well, because I love New York. I really love New York. When I left New York for Washington, New York was doing really well, but there were some bad signs. The bad sign was a guy named de Blasio. So the signs of de Blasio, that was the beginning, and it was bad. This one, we're going to look. For 1,000 years, communism has not worked. Communism, or the concept of communism, has not worked. I tend to doubt it's going to work this time.
Did you see his victory speech?
It's literally never worked. Yeah, I thought it was a very angry speech, certainly angry toward.
Have you guys heard about Mamdani's plan? Do you think it's going to work? He's going to give out free childcare for inner city New York City, grocery stores run by the government, free bus rides. He wants to take from the 2% of the rich, the wealthy, and give to the poor to cover and offset all of these charges. Because remember now, New York City has millions of people, and we're so interested to see how this is going to develop. He's also talking about immigrants. He wants immigrants to come in, whereas Donald Trump wants illegal immigrants out of here. So we'll see how that works too, especially when it comes to their relationship.
But me, and I think he should be very nice to me. You know, I'm the one that sort of has to approve a lot of things coming to him. So he's off to a bad start.
At one point, he says, turn the volume up.
So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
How do you respond to that? Does that affect anything you're going to do?
It's a very dangerous statement for him to make, actually. And, you know, you talk about danger. I think it's a very dangerous statement for him to make. He has to be a little bit respectful of Washington, because if he's not, he doesn't have a chance of succeeding. And I want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed. I don't want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed, and we'll see what happens.
Did you see reaching out to him?
I would say he should reach out to us, really. I think he should reach out. I'm here. We'll see what happens, but I would think that it would be more appropriate for him
That sounds like a nice way of saying no, right?
to reach out to us.
So speaking of reaching out, is there a deal that can be made to end this government shutdown in your mind?
Well, I think the Democrats have become radicalized. I think, you know, this never happened before. They always extend. You know, an extension is very easy. It's done all the time. You extend, sometimes you extend 4 or 5 times. I mean, they become radicalized lunatics, actually, in a true sense. They should automatically extend, and we will make a deal as soon as they do. As soon as they do, we'll make a deal.
There is a deal in the works that they're talking about, at least. Senator Susan Collins talked to the House, said if they pass the continuing resolution now, this Friday, they'll pass the military construction, the veterans bills, maybe even other bills, and that would get veterans their checks by Veterans Day Monday. Would you support that?
I would look at it. I mean, I'm going to look at it. They should just extend it and work on it. And we ought to work on health care together, because Obamacare has been a disaster. It's going to get a big increase, but Obamacare is not great health care, and it's very expensive. And I'd love to work with them to fix it.
This is obviously appropriations bills one at a time, but they lump some in, get a continuing resolution until December or January, move forward.
Let's move forward. I'd like to move forward. I'd like to get it going, but it's really up to them. And we're here. If they say yes, it's done, because we have already, you know, we have voted just about unanimously, almost unanimously, to move forward. We're ready to do it.
A few more things. You said Republicans should get rid of the filibuster. Based on what you said this morning, you don't really think the Democrats could never win the Senate again, right?
No, I think that if we got rid of the filibuster, we would approve so many good things, common sense things, wonderful things, that it would be
What do you guys think? Should they get rid of the filibuster? Tell us your ideas.
hard to beat us. If we don't, it's always going to be a slog. So I do say this. I would say absolutely, without question, I have no doubt in my mind, get rid of it. And the Republicans should do it. But they have a number of Republicans that don't agree. And you know what? It's a question. Do I want to lose my relationship with those Republicans that have been very good to me for a long period of time, that voted against the crooked Democrats on a...
Okay, he said crooked Democrats. Okay, Forcing Gamer says yes. Nathan Hempton says no. Okay, Forcing Gamer says Dems are starving people as punishment. Okay.
Impeachment and everything else. Do I want to lose them over it? I think it's a very important point. Do you ever have people that are wrong, but you can't convince them? So do you destroy your whole relationship with them or not? I'd be close to losing it, but probably not.
How worried are you about this Supreme Court decision on your emergency power on tariffs? The hearing today, a lot of people were trying to read through the tea leaves, what the justices were asking. Some were saying they were overly skeptical. You can't really do that in Supreme Court hearings, but how worried are you?
Nathan Hempton says we can't compromise to get like 4 votes from a Democratic side of the aisle. Okay, thank you, Nathan. Thank you. Please like and also subscribe to the channel. We'd like to have you back. Turn your notifications on. We do this every day, bringing you news at lunch. Today, we're going to change the news at lunch to 8 o'clock tonight, because we were covering Donald Trump's announcement, which came out today right around that time. So sorry for switching, but you could check it out tonight. We have a lot of news about Pelosi, The Cowboys, which is my favorite team, they lost a player. He died. We're going to cover that as well. Deborah Thiel says there are Republicans and MAGA split the party. Okay, thank you, Deborah.
That they may unwind this thing.
Well, I heard the court case went well today, but I just heard that a little while ago because, as you know, it's just 2 hours ago that they finished up. But I will say this, it would be devastating for our country if we lost that. Devastating. I think it's one of the most important, maybe the most, but one of the most important cases in the history of our country. I think taking tariffs away so that we can have national security. So, as an example, President Xi, he hit us with the rare earths, and I hit him with a tariff, 100% tariff on top of all the other tariffs that you're paying. And they called in 10 minutes and we made a deal.
You're saying you're happy with what you came out of it.
If I didn't have tariffs, we would right now, the entire world would be in a depression. Because, you know, that wasn't a threat against us. That was a threat against the entire world. I did this for the world. But yeah, I would say that I can guarantee you this, if I didn't put 100% tariff immediately on China, the entire world, because of magnets, a special kind of rare earth, et cetera, right? Would be closed up without the benefit.
All right. Tamiko says, OMG, nice to have you here. Lock in with us, subscribe. But nice to have you back. Deborah says, I was wondering what we were doing, Mel. Exactly. All right. Nathan says, MAGA is fascist. Okay. And xenophobic. The rest of the world hates us. We've lost all of our trade partners and our allies. Okay. Thank you very much. You Never Had Me says, love your presentation. Thank you very much. I'm glad you love it. Lock in with us. We do this every day. We remain balanced, you know, and we also try to remain unbiased to just bring you the news and you can come to your own conclusion. We just ask that you try to respect those who are in the chat because we have enough hatred going on throughout the world, especially here in New York City. People are threatening to leave. They don't want to be here anymore because of Mamdani winning. They think this is going to turn into a Muslim state. And actually, there's 11% Jews and 11% Muslims in the New York City region. So a lot of people didn't realize that. They think that there are more Jews than there are Muslims, but actually there's more. All right, John says, thank you. Mel, appreciate you. Thank you very much. I'm glad you appreciate it. Nice having you here, John.
Of tariffs, we would not. We had a very successful meeting with President Xi of China and others. And without tariffs, that would not have taken place.
Well, we appreciate the time. There's a lot going on all at once. I'd ask you about foreign policy, but I know you have to hit the road. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Hey,
Okay, guys. So that's it for today as far as our noon news. If anything comes out, especially I want to know what's going to happen, what happened to this gentleman that took a big fall. Oh, it didn't look really good for him. So, but if anything develops or if they come back with the entire program, I would definitely go live and bring it to you. It's so nice to have so many people here participating. Deborah says, give him a chance. Okay. Yes, indeed. Give him a chance. Okay. Thank you, Deborah, for that. Guys, don't forget to eat. We just had a good lunch moment, but remember to take care of yourself. That's more important than anything else in life because the minute our health goes, there's not much we can do for anyone else, including our family, the people we love dearly. Sometimes we forego ourselves because we're so concerned about perhaps the stresses of life. And in fact, we're talking about eating. We know a lot of people are deprived of food because of the financial situation. A lot of people, for whatever reason, they rely on WIC. They rely on food stamps. And right now, they're saying they might get half of what they normally get at best. Now, we have this moving on the shutdown track because everybody's thinking food stamps shut down. This is the focus. But in actuality, with Project 2025, there's a different track in the background that's going to cut these programs, whether you like it or not. And some of the stipulations that are coming through is that if you're on these programs, they want you to work 20 hours a week, no more receiving services and just kindly relaxing or whatever it is, right? That's the stigma. Now you'll have to, even if you can't find a job, you'll have to go and volunteer 20 hours a week. These are a lot of changes that are coming through that's going to affect. Now, there's a lot of red tape and a lot of logistics or what have you, but that's one of the points that are coming through. A lot of people are happy about that because they say, listen, I've heard family members that receive services and they trade off their food stamps for money. They sell off their food stamps for drugs. People are lazy. These are the words that float around, right? But in reality, is that the truth? Do you think that that's what these services are all about? What about the elderly who cannot feed themselves, right? They rely heavily on this. What about the fact that a lot of the WIC goes for women, infants, and children? How could you say they're lazy? Do you want to put the blame on the mother? At any rate, these people would not have the resources that they typically have, right? So that's something to think about. Not only that, we have the beautiful season of Thanksgiving coming up. And for the most part, I'm here to tell you that there are a lot of groups that are looking to cancel Thanksgiving, Christmas, Veterans Day, and Black Friday of this year. There will be no participation if a lot of groups are able to get their way. Now, where have we seen this before? Well, we saw it quite frankly when it came to Target. A lot of people said, hey, Target, who cares if there's a boycott? You can't stop the big machine. Lo and behold, I invest tremendously in the stock market. Target took a major hit financially, stocks down because people chose to boycott the company. So it goes to show that people have a voice. I am here to tell you, please listen to me. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, listen to what I'm saying. I was at the No Kings protest. There was one yesterday also in Washington, D.C., right? I saw individuals in their, I'd say 80s, walking with walkers. I saw people being pushed in wheelchairs, all sorts of people coming out in New York City where I recorded it. You can go back and find the live stream. There were so many people protesting, and I think that means something. I think we're going to see a lot of battling going back and forth in the future because people are just upset. You have people on the right upset, people on the left upset. Do you think they'll ever come together, right? All right. Professor Oak says, who we boycotting? I think they're boycotting the corporations spending money. They want to send a message to America that the lowly people have a dollar and they choose to hold back that dollar. Bernard Davis says, no one is selling or trading their food stamps for drugs. That's it. That may be true, but that's what people are saying. These are the comments that we see on a regular basis. We also hear it in the media. That's the narrative that's being pushed. But thank you for your comment. Patricia said it's not the taxpayer's job to pay for your mistakes and laziness. Furthermore, elderly and disabled are exempt from the work requirements, so this man doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, you have to read. You need to look and read. Now, I told you there's other red tapes associated with it, but that's some of the changes that are coming. And I challenge you to go and look it up and then come back. And if I'm wrong, I'll give you $20 since you think you know. But anyway, at any rate, that's in the new parameters that are being pushed. Professor Oak says they have us divided on purpose, fight with each other rather than billionaires. Exactly. That's the name of the game. Exactly. Deborah says, I look healthy, but have asthma, allergies to everything. Looks aren't what should matter. Exactly. Thank you, Deborah, for your expression as well. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thank you. We'll be back. Well, that's it for this afternoon. We'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. to discuss some of the hot topics that we did not get a chance to discuss here at noon because of Trump's press conference, big announcement. But unfortunately, a man fell down. Hopefully, he's retained his life. We don't know what happened, but I'm pretty sure it will be revealed what happened to him. Why did he pass out? And it's odd that he passed out at an event about health and wellness, right? And about medication. And that's where they had this big dilemma. Patricia says, I think the red tape you're talking about is the fact that Biden admit lots of immigrants. See, now we're moving on. See, now I'm trying to have a conversation. You challenged me on a particular point, Patricia, and now you're moving the goalposts, right? So we just have to stay focused here because there are some changes coming with food stamps, right? And there are a lot of matters associated with it that people need to research and kind of understand each point, especially if you're on food stamps. But for the most part, there are changes coming. And when you make comments like that, it kind of takes away from people being educated that, listen, they should go do some research, because that's my message, right? But at any rate, I get what you're saying. It's all good. You say you're moving on. I'm bringing up the fraud destroying the system. Now, yeah, there is a lot of fraud destroying the system, but that's the nature of this life. There's always people looking to cut corners and take advantage of the next person, right? Delco says, wait, who fell? I do not know the gentleman, but he fell. I think he was probably number 3 in line to speak. It looked like they were speaking in order. But you could tell that there was something going on with him, and he took a fall. Hopefully it wasn't a hard fall, and hopefully he'll be okay, whoever he is. Anton says, maggots running cover for billionaires. And Patricia, I welcome the debate with you. This is all love and peace, so bring it on. We can always chat, right? But I just want you to understand that this is a real discussion I'm having with you. And I don't care how you feel, it's nice to have you here. Patricia says, if we do not address the fraud occurring within the system, then we don't have programs to help those most in need. Exactly. I'm with you. See, so now we're on the same page. We're agreeing. We're having healthy discussion, which is healthy debate. You have to love it, folks. Anton says, losing your health insurance and still clapping like a lost seal. Exactly. Professor Oak says, Patricia, you don't know what you're talking about. The fraud is less than 4%. 96% of the money is benefiting Americans who need it. Okay. The Abbey of Every Man, thank you for your extreme support. I really enjoy your comments. Patricia, you should call in. Okay, all right. Anton says, 40 billion to Argentina and you can't find SNAP. Exactly. What a good comment. A lot of people are concerned about the 40 billion that went to Argentina while people in America are getting cut on their food stamps. This is just what's happening. Patricia says, I love and peace too. Yes, indeed, Patricia. It's awesome. Nice to have you on. I hope you come back. I hope you stick around. We could always have great conversation. Anton says, Elon Musk takes the most welfare clowns. He gets, what is it, 8 million a day? I think when you break it down, Elon was getting 8 million a day. Sherelle says, I would love to hear you talk 24 hours. I love your voice. Oh, well, that's good to hear. Sherelle, stick around. Hit your notification so whenever I go live, you can catch it. We're producing a lot of information, a lot of videos. I have a video coming out to show you how in inner city New York, they're having so many Muslim prayers. Now, that's fine, but people, when you're all dressed in black, people get nervous. So a lot of conservative people are shaken in fear because they're listening to the fear mongers. They think that all of these people getting together in Times Square is going to lead to something crazy, but this is the nature of life, right? Patricia says an illegal is not an American. Okay, thank you. The Abbey of Every Man says you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for your streams. Okay, well, I'll keep them rolling through. It's nice to hear back from the people. It's quite motivational. Patricia says, I say this because I've experienced my own black brothers and sisters losing their benefits and these illegals, so I'm not trying to be okay with this nonsense. Okay. Well, thank you. That's why it's important for us to hear from you to get a different perspective. Everybody have their own walk in life, so that leads to a different take on it. John Stevenson says, it disgusts me with any money going to any country but ours while we are going through this transition. Okay, yes, you're talking about all the money that's going to Argentina and all these other places. I get it. Deborah says, like the video to support Mel and help his algorithm. Talk about that algorithm. Yes, indeed. Right now, I want to make this clear, we have 2 videos streaming at the same time. And from where I sit, I see both of them. One goes to cell phones, folks. The other one goes to televisions. It goes to laptops. It's called horizontal. So if you really want to support the channel, make sure that when we go live, just back out of your live when you're done and go like the other stream too. That gives the one that's bigger, the horizontal one, gets less views because the vertical goes to your cell phone. So when you're swiping, then you'll see Watching the World come up. We're covering news, trying to give you the truth and not add any of the nefarious ideas to it. Okay, so I'm just giving you guys a little insight. But thank you, Deborah. You really helped me here. Roberto is in the building. Thank you. Well, Roberto says that's not true. Explain. William says, and when they see black skin, they trip out even more. Okay, all right. That's a good comment. John says Patriots are not draft dodgers. Okay. Do you know anyone who dodged the draft? Tell us who dodged the draft. Roberto says, do you know we have a lot of veteran soldiers who are homeless? Yes, indeed. I live next door to the VA hospital. I have friends that work there. So I understand the plight of the veterans. I truly understand that. My father was in Vietnam, so I have some of that running in my blood, right? Some of that non-fearing spirit. Essential Oil Queen, welcome back. Nice to have you back. The chat is moving rather fast. Let me bring it back. Okay. Essential Oil says it's not just about SNAP. What about federal workers showing up to work every day and not getting paid? Say that again. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, Essential Oil Queen has hit a point. Tell that to your neighbor, folks. She says U.S. government can't find money for federal workers, but found $40 billion for Argentina. What's going on in America, people? Deborah says, say my name, Mel. Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Deborah. Roberto says, let me remind everyone, we all gonna get old. Yes, indeed. We're definitely gonna get old, and we're gonna have to face the challenges of life that comes with getting old. Yes, indeed. I'm with you all the way. Roberto says, how would you like to be taken care of when you get home? That's a tough moment, right? Especially anyone who's ever had surgery and needed someone else to take care of them. You know, actually, I was thinking this morning I was going to go live to my members only section and talk about who rubs your scars. I won't start preaching right now, but I put together a lecture about who rubs your scars. You know, a lot of times I've had surgery before, and you need someone to help you do just small things. Who rubs your scars? Who takes care of you when you're down? Sometimes we take care of so many people. I know I do. I help a lot of people. But the question is, sometimes we have to think about ourselves, especially we're on the subject about getting old. Who's going to be there for you in your moment of despair? You know, when you can barely get around, right? Things happen. All of us are moving around so much. Time and unforeseen occurrence befalls us all, right? You could be walking across the street, whatever. But who can you call on during those moments, right? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, will you be there for me when I need you the most? But anyway, we'll talk about that in the member section. I'm going to be talking about that probably tomorrow morning. At any rate, thank you for inspiring me to talk about that. The Abbey of Every Man says, I like the horizontal stream too. Yeah, I like it the most too. We just have to get more likes on it and get more motion with that. Patricia says, those federal workers will receive their payments. What happens if their banks will give them an advance on their salaries? They have direct deposit. Now, there's been millions of dollars that these individuals have borrowed, or somehow the government I think they had to declare to the government when they're borrowing money or something. So for some reason, the government said they borrowed so much money because they're not getting paid, right? Like, what's really happening? John Stevenson says John's referring to Trump. Okay. Professor Oak says Agent Orange Blood, LOL. Patrick, welcome. Patrick says, I just got $1 an hour raise and my health premiums are increased 21 per pay period. Wow. Thank you for that inside information, that insight. Patricia said banks. Okay. John says Trump and Clinton both with the bone spur bullshit. All right. I knew somebody would get it right. Yes, indeed. They dodged the draft. Okay. So that answers whoever brought up the draft dodgers. We have 2 prime candidates that actually serve as presidents of the United States. Okay. Patricia says banks are now reaching out to those very federal workers and asking them if they need assistance, and those that reply yes are receiving. It may not occur at all banks, but good many are doing that. Okay, so that's helping people get through a tough spot. Hopefully they don't get hit with high interest rates and be on the hook for a mighty long time. John Stevenson says, John Clinton definitely had a bone spur, not the one you think, LOL. Oh my. Oh my. Patricia says, we're lucky if we have one person to assist. It's usually a friend. A friend indeed, right, is a friend in need. Okay. I think there's a brother that is, or a sister that is born in a time of need. That's what we look for, and that's what we try to be to other people. Thank you guys for tuning in to the channel today. We covered this event where the president was giving his press conference. Unfortunately, while he was giving a press conference on health, a man went down. Like, what's the chances of that? He looked like he took a hard fall, but we hope for the best, but we'll find out here shortly what happened to him, perhaps, and if they'll come back with this whole press conference. I'll definitely cover it. Ant-Man says Navy Federal has offered assistance in that manner. Okay, thank you for that insight. So if you need assistance, perhaps there's a resource with Navy Federal. I know they typically offer a lot of loans, especially when it comes to veterans. Okay, so yes, the Abbey of Every Man says, hope the person is okay. All right. Thank you kindly. We'll see you back tonight at 8 o'clock. We're going to go over the hot topics. We're going to talk about how by tomorrow, if the shutdown still exists, airline will be cutting back 10% on flights. And I saw while I was giving this presentation that the Trump administration has put out some new report about flying. And I'm going to be flying over the next 2 weeks. And I just flew about 2 weeks ago to, what was it, San Diego. Flights were delayed. People, it took a whole hour for people to get food at McDonald's. Everybody's standing around. It's insanity. So I only imagine it's gotten worse. So hopefully on my 2 flights that's coming up back to back over the next 2 weeks, hopefully we can navigate through it, especially leaving, going out of the country. Hopefully they let me back in, folks. If not, I'll have to do the show from some other place. We're going to do it everywhere. We could potentially have internet so you guys can get the hot topics and we can go over them. And I get to hear from your expression, your thoughts. Look at Patricia. Patricia and I are now probably going to be good friends, because even though we had a little bit of cloudy moment, now we see clearly. It's all good, right? Thank you, Patricia. I really appreciate you. I look forward to you. And if I'm ever wrong, correct me, right? If you feel I'm wrong, correct me. We can talk about it. I love debate. That's what I live for. That's one of the things. Thank you, guys. Have a good day. We'll see you tonight at 8 o'clock. Tune in. We're going to go through what we know about the hot topics and the news at 8 p.m. tonight.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all